Vasilisa sat and looked out the window. Tears were quietly flowing down her cheeks, which she no longer even wiped away. She sat and thought that she should pull herself together, get up and continue preparing for the wake, which will be tomorrow. Tomorrow will be 40 days since her beloved grandmother died. The death of Raisa Ivanovna was for her the second severe shock in 20 years of her life. When she was 10 years old, her mother died. There was a collapse at the construction site where she worked. Vasilisa did not know the details, and why did she need them for a little girl? Then the whole world collapsed for her. Mom was everything to her. Vasilisa didn't know her father, and her mother didn't tell about him. Vasilisa was taken by her grandmother. Her grandmother gave her so much warmth and care that the girl quickly recovered from such a shock. She had no one but her grandmother. Once she saw her mother's brother, Uncle Andrei, when he arrived, and shouted at his mother, her grandmother. He was indignant that Raisa Ivanovna took Vasilisa, that they say it was necessary to hand her over to an orphanage, that she was going to raise the girl herself, and that he would not help her with this idea. The girl did not see him again for another couple of years. He called Raisa Ivanovna once a year to congratulate her on her birthday, and then he stopped doing that, and she kept waiting for him to come to his senses and come. But he didn't come. He didn't even come to the funeral. Vasilisa then sent him in sums from his grandmother's phone, but there was no response, and she decided that maybe he had already changed his phone number, since no one picked up the phone or dropped it on the calls either. She didn't know how else to tell him, and she was very worried about it. But it was impossible to wait for the funeral. Neighbors and former students of Raisa Ivanovna, who worked as a primary school teacher for many years, helped organize everything. And now tomorrow is 40 days. Everyone will come, and Vasilisa needs to do a lot more now. Then the doorbell rang. Someone did not release the doorbell button, and Vasilisa went to the door under this ringing. "Yes, I hear," she screamed, wiping tears from her face along the way. When she opened the door, she was stunned. Uncle Andrei was standing there. She recognized him immediately, as she and her grandmother often looked at family albums. "Uncle Andrew!" the girl shouted and threw herself on his neck. "Grandma, she's gone." "I know," the man muttered and pushed the girl away from him and went into the apartment. "You know." Vasilisa was surprised. "Yes. You wrote to me yourself. Why didn't you come to the funeral?" she asked in bewilderment. "Do I have to report to you yet?" "I had no time. I have things to do, you know." Something incredible was going on in Vasilisa's head. What can be the case when the closest person has died? Well, at least he came to the wake. But then her uncle's voice interrupted her thoughts. "So that's it? I'm giving you until tomorrow to pack up and leave. I am the only heir, and I need money. So pack up and leave." "Where will I go?" The girl was scared. "I don't have anyone else. The entire salary went to the funeral and wake tomorrow. And there's a wake tomorrow. People will come." "What other people? There is nothing for outsiders to do in my apartment. Do you still want to argue with me?" Vasilisa, although she did not graduate legally, was also a little familiar with the laws. After she heard that he didn't care even for the wake, she decided to fight back against this insolent man. "I'm not going anywhere. I'm registered here, and you can't kick me out," the girl declared, trying not to show her fear of the man. "Oh, right. Do you know who I am, and what kind of friends I have?" Decided to contradict me. Then instead of a day, you have an hour. He grabbed the girl by the arm and pushed her into the room. "Pack your bags and get out," he shouted, and slammed the door to the room. Vasilisa began to pack her things. She took the box with her grandmother's jewelry and wrapped it in an old down shawl. "She definitely won't give them to him. This is a memory of my grandmother." She sat down on the bed and looked sadly at the pictures on the wall. There were carefully framed photographs of Grandma standing with flowers, and her students were around. The whole wall was covered in them. And then Vasilisa dawned. She went quietly to the door, listened, and realized that her uncle was arguing loudly with someone on the phone in the kitchen. She crouched down, hiding behind the bed, and took out her phone. "About 6 months ago, a former student met my grandmother on the street. He recently returned to the city and got a job as a precinct officer just on their site. Dmitri helped carry the bags of groceries to his grandmother, and then in the evening he went for tea with pies. He told Vasilisa how at one time it was Raisa Ivanovna who believed in him, gave instructions, and he was able to grow up and not become the same as his parents. When he was in the 8th grade, his parents died, freezing on the street after another binge, and he went to his grandmother, and when she was gone, I decided to return to my hometown. After that, he came in for tea a few more times. Dmitri, hello, the girl whispered into the phone. Vasilisa, what happened? Why in a whisper? Dmitri asked. Uncle Andrei came here. Throws me out, shouts at the air. Please help me. A kite appeared. Go outside and wait for me. I'll be there in 15 minutes. He gave me an hour to pack. I'm going to stay here for a while. 15 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Andrei muttered something angrily and went to open it. When he saw a man in uniform and with a certificate in his hands, he shouted angrily, "That thing!" So she decided to set the police on me. You'll fly out now and without things. Man, show the documents on the basis of which you are in the apartment. Dmitri said in a calm voice. I am the heir. Andrei hissed angrily. As far as I know, inheritance rights come no earlier than in 6 months, so you have 5 more months out of this apartment. Leave the room, and I do not advise you to raise your voice. Andrei shouted that he would come back and left, slammed the door. Vasilisa rushed to Dmitri with tears in her eyes. She didn't stop thanking him and crying. He took her into the kitchen, sat her down and poured tea. Vasilisa, my shift is already over. Do you want me to help? Tomorrow is 40 days. Vasilisa didn't have the strength to refuse help. After the arrival of her uncle, she had no money left at all, and she gladly accepted help. A week later, when she was returning home, her uncle was waiting for her near the entrance. He grabbed the girl's hand and hissed angrily, "You'll regret it, you little shit." But then a neighbor with a big dog came out of the entrance and saw it and said, "Let the girl go, or I'll let Rex down." The man quickly let go of the girl's hand and left. The neighbor asked if everything was fine. Vasilisa thanked her, smiled, patted Rex on the withers, and went home. An hour later, the doorbell rang, and she started. After looking through the peephole and seeing Dmitri there, the girl exhaled with relief and opened the door. "Did I scare you? Sorry, I didn't mean to. It's just that the phone ran out of battery and didn't have time to warn. And what are you?" And she told about the meeting with her uncle. "By the way, I came about this. I consulted with a friend, and he said that you are the same first-line heiress as your uncle, because your mother died. But he also said that his uncle could sell half of the apartment. Wait to get upset. He also said that if we collect evidence that he did not take any part in my mother's life for many years, did not help, and did not even call, then he may be recognized as an unworthy heir and deprived of the right to inherit. We'll collect signatures from the neighbors, and maybe there is someone from distant relatives who can confirm this." "Yes, there is." The girl nodded happily, and they started collecting papers. Andrei was very surprised by the subpoena. He's been counting down the days until he inherits and sells the apartment. At the trial, Andrei was not shy in his expressions. The judge asked him several times to be quiet and threatened to remove him from the courtroom. During the break, Dmitri stood next to Vasilisa. He tried to hide it even from Andrei's gaze, and the look was burning. Andrei stood and thought, "That damn girl, bastard." Well, nothing, now he will win the court, and let him roll to his defender. He won't even let her pack her things now. What was his surprise when, after a break, the judge announced the verdict and decided to recognize Andrei as an unworthy heir, and deprive him of the right of inheritance. Andrei began to shout, to be indignant, and therefore he was nevertheless taken out of the courtroom. Vasilisa stood in the corridor next to Dmitri and smiled. She still has a roof over her head, And the most important thing is that nothing will get to her uncle, who did not even come to the funeral, Vasily's. Dmitri said, taking the girl out of her thoughts. I'll feel better if you stay with me for a while. I don't know what can go through your uncle's head after the trial. I have a 2-room apartment. Don't think anything of it. Nothing like that. What are you talking about? The girls smiled, and the guy was embarrassed. He had liked Vasilisa for a long time, from the very evening when he first saw her in an apron and smeared with flour. And the age difference between them was only 5 years. Only he did not dare to tell her this, although he confessed it to Raisa Ivanovna before her death, and also promised to protect and help Vasilisa, as Raisa Ivanovna once protected and helped him. Well, the guy started, and did not have time to finish, because at that moment the girl kissed him, and he reciprocated her. So they would have stood for a long time in the corridor of the courtroom, if not for the judge, who came out and coughed tactfully. The young people smiled, apologized, and, holding hands, went outside, where the bright sun was shining. That's the story, friends. Write your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Goodbye.